Welcome to the Business Central AL Holiday Special video. Hi, I'm Eric, and at this time I thought it would be fun to answer a bit of questions and something with gifts and just kind of having a good time here at the Hogart Studios. It has to be a holiday special because, you know, that's I want to do the Chewbacca thing. No, I don't. But anyway, so let's get started with this. Let me switch over to this one again. I asked out on Twitter. Actually, let me put myself back here. There we go. If anybody had any questions, and it doesn't have to be, Business Central per se. It could be any question about perhaps something here or anything. And I got a lot of questions on Twitter. Most of them, not most of them, but lots of them were actually great ideas for videos. So they're probably going to be videos and not getting answered here. But there were some. Then of course there were like Waldo, who totally missed the point of this exercise. But it's Christmas, so that's fine. Anyway, at the end of this video, I'll give you a link. It's actually right below the video already, but do see the video, do subscribe. So we'll have a little Christmas fun here, and I'm giving away 10 copies of the Business Central Field Guide. This is not a programming book. This is actually about how to use Business Central. More on that later. And feel free to join the giveaway by clicking the link below. Okay, so let's get started. If this works. I got some questions on Twitter, and here's one of the first one. How to modify reports to include fields from an extension, or how to solve this? Well, if you have followed along, you would see that right now we have clear indication that we'll get report extensions in version 18. And that's, in 4 months, so that's very quickly. But if you have to do this now, you actually need to make a copy of a report and use the report substitution event to select your report instead of the one. And the reason I think this is a great question is because I did a video on this exact topic. You can find it by going to the channel. It's how to customize a standard report. So shameless plug that there's a lot of great content that has happened on the channel during this year. So this is one of them. So I suggest that you go take a look at that. And thanks for the question, Guido. Before we get to the field guide giveaways, I have a bunch of other tips here, and the first one is a repo on GitHub called BC Tech. If you have not visited BC Tech, you should. Let me show you. Let's see if I can go here. Oh, not too many screens. Here it is. So BC Tech is kind of a playground, sort of. It's where the guys who make Business Central at Microsoft put up tech demos of different things, all related to Business Central. You can see that the contributors are basically the Microsoft guys, which is pretty cool. And if we look at what do we actually have in this one, let's look at the code here. We have examples of the admin center API access, how to use Azure IoT and Azure Service Bus, and do a customized CDS integration, something I did a video on, and lots of different things. So it's a pretty cool repo to go digging around in and to get inspired and find out cool stuff. So we can see that this actually happens, the updates happens regularly. Something 5 days ago, so I'm gonna get back to that in just a minute. 7 days ago, 20 days ago, last month, 29. So yeah, it's getting updated all the time. So that's a tip, a holiday tip for you. Go check out the BC Tech repo. It's actually pretty cool. Let's get back to the slideshow. So I think I've done close to 70 videos, and this is one of the few ones with actually a PowerPoint in it. So here's another great question from Stefan. Sorry if I'm butchering your names. I'm Danish, so for me this would be Stefan, but that might not be correct. So Stefan. Anyway, if I would ask you, besides AL, what skills would be the most desired in the future, you would say, whether that may be JavaScript, C#, PowerShell. It's interesting because, in my opinion, the language is certainly a skill, but I think it's closer related to understanding the platform you're on, because in reality, JavaScript can be learned in an afternoon, but learning the thousands, millions of JavaScript frameworks and libraries and so on, that takes a lifetime. And I think the way I look at it is that I want to learn the platform, and for my sake, I started learning about computers back in the 80s, and I worked with DOS 2.0 to begin with, and I learned DOS. I knew the syscall. I knew every corner of DOS. I knew how to program a resident, a permanent resident program that was sitting. I did not write any viruses that got out in the wild. Then, I actually jumped from DOS to OS2. I learned that platform, went to Windows, NT mostly, learned that platform. Nowadays, web is kind of a platform, so learning how the browser works, how the DOM works. If you have seen, I've done so many videos where in reality most of the stuff I did to hack the UI in Business Central was DOM manipulation. So the document object model inside a web page, how that is put together, that is learning the platform. But you access the platform through tools, and tools change all the time. And I think that if you have learned the concept of, in this case, object-oriented programming, or something that's close to object-oriented programming, it's not that difficult to pick up a new language if that is needed. If you truly want to, learn new skills, you need to pick up a language that is radically different from the ones that we typically use. I have several tries at learning Haskell. I've not done anything serious with Haskell yet. F#, I try to find a reason to use once in a while. For many years, I used a language called Lua, which is a dynamic language, which also is very interesting. But I think that the language is the tool, and the skill is closely related to the platform. I have a so from that aspect, this is purely the technical thing. One of the griefs I have with our little closed industry is that too few people actually knows the application. So you might be a AAA world-class developer, but if you have no clue how Dimensions works, if you have no clue how Code Unit 80 posts an invoice, if you have no clue what's the relationship between an item ledger entry and a value entry is, or what is the relationship between other entries, or how the posting setup combines general posting groups and general business posting groups and product posting groups. It doesn't matter how good a programmer you are, you need to know the application. So I think that is one of the skills that we in the dev world sometimes forgetting, that we might be very, very good at programming, but if we don't understand the environment that we're in from a user's perspective, it's really, really hard to deliver great solutions. And with that, I have another tip for you guys. Carrie is another Microsoft MVP, not a developer at all. Carrie is one of the founders behind New Strategies, that does a lot of training. And Carrie is in the process of, and I hope I told this right, but she's basically in the process of retargeting a lot of her old blog posts and material on Nav, redoing them on Business Central. And if you check out her blog on carriepeters.com, you can see that she's currently working on the account schedules. And I know from multiple discussions just today that there's so few people in the channel who actually knows how account schedules work. So you end up creating crazy customizations that could actually be solved just by using the account schedules out of the box. So that's a great tip for you. Check out Carrie's blog, and it's just great stuff. John Rai Bansal. Sorry again, names. I shouldn't even have tried this one. But egg or chicken, which came first? Great question. Let me answer that. So if you think about DNA, how do DNA change? Then at some point something was not a chicken, and then it becomes a chicken. So clearly those are two things with different DNA. And if you have an egg that hatches a chicken, DNA does not change through the process of hatching, but a non-chicken creating an egg, that can have different DNA. So to answer this as scientifically as possible, the egg came first because the egg was laid by a non-chicken, but a chicken came out of the egg. There you go. You didn't realize that this was that kind of channel? It is. Anyway, on to the next tip. So the next tip is Steve. Steve has an awesome YouTube channel. You should go subscribe to it. Steve is a techie guy, just like me, but his background came from the Dynamics GP, or the Great Plains world. And he is in the process of retooling himself to Business Central. And he's doing this in an awesome way, because he's actually showing his process on his YouTube channel. So there are lots of different types of videos, but it's just great to see the transformation, the journey of getting to Business Central. Things that we take for granted is a revelation. Oh wow! So check out Steve's channel. There's lots of stuff to learn from that, and it's done very professionally. His setup is way more fancy than mine. So check it out, Steve on YouTube. And let's head on to the next question. What are the top 5 books? This is Drew. What are the top 5 books you would recommend to someone who's just learning AL and Business Central? And I like the fact that it's AL/Business Central. Of course, I'm totally biased, so the Field Guide is an awesome book to figure out what is Business Central is all about, not from a development programming perspective, but from a, the environment perspective. What's the application about, how to get around, all those things. It's filled with tips and tricks. Learning AL is way more complicated. There is a bunch of books out there. Mike has written the cookbook. There's the I'll put some link down below, the current books. My problem with this in general is that right now the platform is moving so fast. So something that is right in version 16 is wrong in version 17. Something that was right in 15 is obsolete in 17. So I find that a book is only as good as the time when it was released. What I'm doing with the Field Guide is different. At least that's my argument, because I'm publishing on something called LeanPub, where I'm actually updating the book. So whenever Microsoft comes out with something, a new version or something that should go into the book, I update the book, and those who have purchased the book can download a new version. I'm still hoping, holding on to the hope that some of the people who have done dev books will come over to LeanPub and be part of this, so they can do a book as a service. I think that's needed in the dev space, because it's moving very, very fast, and has been moving very, very fast for the last 3 years. So any of the newer the book is, the better at this point. I think that's the idea. Christoph's, that I maybe I'm butchering the name, newly minted MVP from Poland, has a free book on AL development for beginners, but I think it's actually a couple of years old by now, so that might not be updated to 16, 17 stuff. So again, same thing. Maybe he should get on LeanPub. That's probably a good idea. Okay, let's get on with it. Here's the next tip. Vieko. Vieko isn't, like me, an old timer in the Navision, Nav, Business Central world, and he just opened his YouTube channel, and he's doing these deeper dives into specific techs, and he's doing a live show every something. It's something with Fridays, and it's while I'm still sleeping. So I have not catched the live thing, so I'm not sure when it is. But I think I know when it is. But it's when I'm sleeping. So anyway, so tons of good stuff. Very, very deep dives. So check out Vieko's YouTube channel. I'll put the link down below also for that one. Great stuff. So this is Gert. If you remember Gert, he was the guy who did the AL Triss Tetris game in Business Central. I did a video on a while ago. And Gert is asking, can we see you develop a game on your Commodore computers? There's actually several Commodore computers. There's 2 Commodore 64 there, and there's a VIC-20 you can't see, that's actually out of frame. And getting them to show on the whole video setup is just cumbersome. I did purchase a very fancy converter that I have not really gotten to work very well yet. So I will not do that. But can we see you develop a game? Yeah, and you actually saw that already. You saw me did I did the tic-tac-toe game in AL, but actually, let me show you something, because I like making games. I do that. I don't do that enough. So here is actually a game I did, and let's get it onto the screen. Here it is. So the game is called Snake Attack, and let's see, we can get the source code somewhere. Here we go. Let's make this way bigger. You're not connected to DevOps, that's okay. So Snake Attack was a game that I started writing partly with my kids. Mostly they were suggesting what should happen, and a game that I wrote on airplanes, you know, back when we could fly. The funny part about this was that now you can very often get internet connection, but I mostly did this without. So it was something about downloading some libraries or something in the airport and then play with it on the plane. So the idea here is, you know, wow, this is, I actually got it on a fast one here. It's the old game of Snake. And I spent way too much time on the animation of getting this. I think there's a cheat. Oh, no, that's not the cheat. Oh, that's the cheat, so we can get to another level. I spent way too much time getting the animation of this the snake running. It's written in C#. It's actually a UWP application for some reason, so a Windows Store app. I never really put it in the Windows Store. Maybe I should. And it's built with a so it's kind of, there's a game engine which is a portable .NET standard library that keeps the game engine, all the definitions of what happens, keeps track of the levels. You can see the level data. So level 1 is just adding food, and the food is not alive. Level 1 will add a wall and still dead food, and level 2 will add food that's alive, meaning that it's moving, and 3 will add a wall and the food, and 4 would do the same thing, and 5 will add a wall with a hole, so basically a 2-section wall, and so on. The engine is written with what is called? Let me game render here. Let's take a look at that one. So the game is written using just standard graphics elements. So you can see here, if we go to, we load a lot of, we have all the images in a cache, and then you can, oh, here's the tight game loop, the render game loop. So it'll draw the board, draw the players, and draw messages if there's anything to draw. And draws on the canvas, and then you can see here we're drawing the, for x equal 0 to the width, and y is the 0 to the height, and then this is kind of a you can see that everything is in a square. So whatever, I can't remember what this one is doing. Oh, it's turning the snake purple. I wonder if it turns it off again. No, just keeps, the star goes to the next level. So everything is a square, and then like a tile, exactly like an old Commodore game actually. So we draw that, and then there's the draw the player, which is way more complicated because it's drawn out of segments to get the movement. You know, add some wiggle 4 years ago. So yeah, it's been a while. Anyway, so that's a game, not on my Commodore, but a Commodore inspired game on Windows. Let's get back to the questions or something else. This is actually one of the from the BC Tech. Let me show you. We can go back to BC Tech here. And 5 days ago in the app insights, if we go to videos, and this was actually not the video. Okay, let me hang on. We can do better. So one of the guys behind the application insight is Kenny, and Kenny did a great little video, 6 minutes here, where he is showcasing the Power BI version of how to visualize all the application insight data. Lots of statement. Let's see where he gets something. So long running AL methods creates job queue entry. So a great introduction to how to get to the to application insight data from Power BI. So I'll put the link to this one in the description. This is by far the videos with the most links ever in the description. Anyway, on to the next little one. This is Gerardo. Sorry. I think I have more than one question. That's okay. One would be, what tools do you use for project cycle, from analysis, development, testing? What are your mandatory tools? Another would be, how do you control which extension your clients have, the numbering versions, etc. So from my perspective, everything is connected. So it's not like it's a standalone dev project. The business consultant, the salespeople, the customer, everybody is involved. And in order to have everybody involved, you need some sort of project tool that everybody can access. That could be Azure DevOps. It could be Jira. It could be something else. We're using something else, so we actually created our own tool that is web-based, that runs on top of the jobs module in Business Central. So every job that we work on is actually a job in our Business Central. Every task is a job task, and then we have added lots of extra stuff and a web interface so customers can log in and see and add new tasks, and all the consultants can work and see what they need to do and upload data and documentation and stuff like that. And I think a collaboration tool like that is essential for handling all this. So you know what tasks are in analysis, what tasks are ready for development, what's in development, what's in testing, what's done, and so on. And walking over to the dev box, the dev part of it. Right now, I keep it fairly simple. So everybody are using Visual Studio Code, of course. That's mandatory. Depending on the customer size and depending on the dependencies of other apps, we are either just using cloud sandboxes provided by the customer, or we're using Docker images. The reason for those two options is that if you have a dependency on a app source delivered app, you cannot get that in your Docker. So if the customer is using Avatax from Avalera, it's pretty hard to develop stuff for them that uses that without having that in your development system. So you're forced to work on a cloud sandbox. Right, with the latest version of the licenses, so a customer gets 3 sandboxes. But if you buy extra environments, you get 3 extra sandboxes. So it's only a monetary matter to have 10, 12, 15 sandboxes if that's needed. Right now, I don't think we have any customers that has more than 6 sandboxes running. So we can live within that. What we do is typically, again, some sandboxes are dedicated for pure dev, some are dedicated for dev testing, some are dedicated for UAT, and we just use Git either through Azure DevOps or to GitHub, kind of depending on other things, and we dedicate a branch in Git to each sandbox, depending, not to each sandbox, typically to each sandbox actually, but there might be some differences in that. So that you can merge to the UAT sandbox, so you merge from whatever branch into the UAT sandbox and then deploy from the UAT branch to the UAT sandbox, and then you merge to the production branch, and from there you build and deploy to production. So I keep it fairly simple. Version numbers are kind of irrelevant in my case, because it's all about what is the build commit, that what commit has been deployed. But if we use version numbers for other than just increment every time we deploy, we have copied the Linux way of doing, where even version numbers are dev numbers and auth are deployment, or vice versa. So we kind of keep track of that in that way. But again, try to keep it simple. Okay, this video is already getting way too long. So the last tip here is that now we've seen, I mentioned Steve, I mentioned Vieko, I mentioned Carrie, and there's lots of other MVPs. And if you suddenly find yourself, okay, I need to do some Power BI, well, there's a bunch of Power BI MVPs, and you can find them all on mvp.microsoft.com. There's a search function, so search for the tech and you'll get a list of MVPs who have specified that is the tech that they're working with. So a great resource. I use it all the time. If I need to look up somebody who knows something, I'll find the MVP in that area. So great trick. Nicholas, what's the most interesting, craziest, worst project you've worked on as a NavBC developer? Well, most interesting, craziest, and worst are that's not the same project. I think at this time, the worst projects are the older the nav version gets, because working on the SaaS version and on being on version 17 and everything is actually pretty nice. Suddenly have to go back to nav 5.0 or 2009 classic, and it's really not a nice experience anymore, and stuff that's just so easy to do is not easy to do. So that is the worst. The interesting, craziest could be the same. I for a long period of time, almost 10 years, I guess, I worked for the largest. I did not work for, but I had as a client basically the largest shipping container shipping company in the world, and it's Danish. I'll not say the name, but you know what it is if you know anything about shipping. And they ran Nav for the longest time, and they had thousands of users there. And Nav started its life there as kind of a front end, but so time to prepare transactions for behind systems. But what turned out, what was interesting, so basically we did not use any standard functionality almost. We just used Nav as a dev tool. So this company implemented 3 different accounting systems. One for the top corporate, and then the 2 departments implemented their own accounting systems. And Nav became the only system that was deployed on every workstation throughout the company. Nav was the only system where you could say debit one system and credit another. So this system ended up in having thousands of users. I've never had or heard about a Nav installation with this many users anywhere else. And because it was the only one that could talk to everything, so everything ended up, oh, Eric, can we do this? And yeah, we can. So we ended up creating so many functions running in this Nav, and it became the front end for so many things. So that was very, very interesting to work with, and it was kind of crazy also. but it was a great experience, and it certainly taught me that you could scale the technology to work with thousands of users. You could scale the technology to this amount of transactions, and I heard about a lot of installation like that. There's some very, very huge installation in Germany also that also scale to these sizes. It's fascinating. So that was really fun. And then it got converted to SAP, but it took them many years to convert what we have made in Nav into working in SAP. That was side note. Anyway, let's get on to the giveaway. So the idea in the spirit of the holidays is that I want to give away copies of the field guide ebook version to simplify things, and there's a link below the video, and enter the giveaway. I've never done this before, so if something changes on the giveaway page, it's just me trying to figure out. Anyway, if you enter the giveaway, you have a chance of getting one of the 10 books. And the winner will be announced. The winners will be announced, or noticed, whatever. That will happen start of January. So I hope you enjoyed this, me just rambling about different random stuff for way too long. Holiday special. Next year we'll do the Wookiee thing. So until next year, have a wonderful holiday. Stay safe, and I will see you next year with tons of new stuff on Business Central. There's so many videos lined up. It's gonna be awesome. Stay safe. Have fun. Bye.